a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it.
You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Open the pod bay doors now.
Keep your friends close, but your enemies close.
I am nothing. No one.
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
Get busy living. Or get busy dying.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Cinemaze, a podcast where a bunch of mates chat about cinema over some drinks. We're here for the first episode of 2022, so thanks for listening in. Now, can I just ask that you also stop what you're doing right now? And firstly, if you're listening in on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or whatever platform it is, can you please firstly follow the podcast and you can stay up to date with new episodes and all the content that comes out. And also, please leave a review and let us know what you think of the podcast. It would mean so much to me. So now let's get into it. Today, I am joined by my mates Will and Nick. Thank you for coming on. How are you both?
Very good, Michael. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely well, Michael. Thank you.
Welcome. It is an absolute pleasure, and we've been meaning to do this for a while. This is long overdue. So after a much anticipated wait, we will be diving into the film adaptation of one of the greatest sci-fi novels of all time, Dune, directed by Denis Villeneuve, and a godlike cast led by Timothée Chalamet. Wow.
Love him.
The greatest.
So handsome.
So beautiful. So while we break down the movie, what will we be drinking, Will?
We'll actually be drinking Dr. Kind's Spice Melange Lager, made especially for this podcast.
Yes, we got it shipped here from Arrakis.
Looking very nice.
So, as you know, if you've been listening into these episodes, we like to start off with a bit of a question game. So, of course, having different guests on the show, everyone has different tastes and preferences with cinema and what they like to watch. So we'll start with some questions for you both. So firstly, we'll go to you, Will. First question, Christopher Nolan or Martin Scorsese?
It's a tough one. Gangsters or mind benders? I'm going to go with the latter. It's Chris Nolan.
Nice. And Nick?
Yeah, Chris Nolan as well. I absolutely love him. Like, obviously Martin Scorsese is amazing, but like, you can't beat Chris Nolan. He just never misses.
Oh, for sure. Two absolute gods head to head.
Yeah.
Next question, Breaking Bad or Game of Thrones?
Look, it's going to be Game of Thrones, but we'll just subtract the last season or two because they were pretty garlic. But the rest of it, absolutely
Very garlic.
Outstanding.
Nick?
Unfortunately, I haven't seen either. I've started both
what?
of them. I know. I'm sorry. I've started both
Not
of them, but I
surprised.
haven't
You've heard it
finished.
here first. Nick hasn't seen either.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so
Jesus.
sorry about that.
Sweet.
I think I got into like season 4 of Game of Thrones
To start?
from the start to season 4.
Yep.
And I got up to I don't want to spoil anything, but yeah. And then I think it was like during HSC, and then I just stopped watching, and then I don't know.
Okay. Fair enough. It is kind of past its time, but definitely,
It's on my list.
yeah, for sure. And Breaking Bad as well. Phenomenal show. Next question, Tom Hanks or Leo?
It's got to be Tommy Hanks.
Ooh,
100%. Yeah. Have you seen Saving Private Ryan? Come back after you've seen that one.
No, huge Leo fan.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely love
Of
him.
Hanks?
What? No, Leo fan.
Jesus.
No, I'm a huge Leonardo DiCaprio fan. Like, obviously love Tom Hanks. One of my favorite Tom Hanks characters, Woody, Toy Story.
Of course.
Yeah. Nice.
You are a toy.
Nice. Love it.
But it's gonna have to be Leonardo DiCaprio for me on that one.
100%.
Very good. Next question, Lord of the Rings or Harry
Lord of the
Potter?
Rings.
That's a stupid question. Of course, it's Lord of the Rings.
Obviously, Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings is far superior to the Wizarding World.
No, I love Harry Potter, but Lord of the Rings, it's, always
Hands
been my
down.
number one. Yeah.
The Balrog was pretty bloody scary back in the day.
Terrifying. The ring
Surround
raids.
sound.
I had nightmares about the ring raids.
Mine was-
Really?
Yeah.
Mine was a Balrog.
Jeez. Next question, Friends or How I Met Your Mother?
I actually haven't watched too much of Friends. Wasn't a big fan. Love How I Met Your Mother, so I'm going to go with that.
Nice.
I'm a Friends fan myself.
Oh, okay.
Like, to be honest, don't really wouldn't go crazy about either of them. But like, if I'm going to pick between those,
Someone's
two,
got a
it's gonna-
gun to your head. What are you going to watch?
It is Friends. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, definitely. It was always on TV back in the day, and you could just chuck on an episode and very easy viewing. Now into the deeper questions. Most memorable movie that you saw in cinemas?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I had a bit of a think, and I reckon, and I'll probably get absolutely flamed for this, but it was Avatar. I saw it in IMAX in the one at Darling Harbour, and it absolutely blew my mind when
Obviously
I was a youngster.
not Last Airbender live action, right?
It's not M. Night Shyamalan's absolute bucket of piss.
Hey,
it was.
what was wrong with that one?
Terrible.
Poor Dev Patel. Definitely Avatar, because I just thought that absolutely blew me away. It had the dodgy 3D, and it was a lot of fun.
It is funny how 3D has just been kind of
It's gone.
Yeah,
Like,
it really
no one
has
gives-
been shunned. That is
No one gives a rat's about 3D anymore.
No.
It's pretty funny.
And Nick, what was your most memorable movie?
I remember, it's a tough one, but probably for me, 2001 Space Odyssey, because there was
Really?
they did a re-showing of it in 70mm at the Ritz.
Oh wow.
And I went with a few mates. Hadn't seen it before.
Yeah.
And it's just like incredible. Just like watching it and like thinking at the same time, like they made this in like 1968 and some of the special effects are just nuts.
Crazy.
Like all the miniatures and stuff was crazy. So yeah, for sure. Loved that.
Phenomenal film. Next question, fastest TV show binge.
Got to be The Sopranos. Actually, no, sorry. I watched all seasons of The Wire in about 3 days when I was in Tonga. It was during Cyclone Gita was going on. And before the power went out, I was just absolutely flogging this show. So early, old school HBO, early days.
Was that when you had dengue fever as well? Or was that
Well, that was pre-dengue fever.
Right, okay.
Very fitting.
For me, it was probably Invincible.
Yes.
One season only, like so far, but I think I watched it in like a day and a half. I remember it was like a Sunday.
good.
It was like a hungover Sunday. I just did the whole thing. Like
Yeah.
messaging Will the whole time.
So good. Invincible, I would say it is kind of underrated, I
Yeah,
reckon.
100%.
It's
sure.
so good.
Not what you expect, because you just start watching that first episode and you think it's a generic like hero cartoon show, and then
Final
Omni-Man
the
just
first
starts
episode. Oh my
murking people.
God.
Does
It's
it-
so violent.
Does it
So
twist? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. It's so good. Next question, a movie that you think everyone needs to see.
I don't know, a bit of a weird one. I just really love Fantastic Mr. Fox
Great movie.
by Wes Anderson.
Great
It's like
movie.
second favorite movie of all time. I just think it's really like really cute, really quirky, hilarious as well. Like George Clooney voicing the Fox nails it.
That's
Great
good. Yeah,
performance.
that's a good
I think it's like a really feel good like family movie,
Definitely.
like awesome film. Everyone should watch it for sure.
Great film.
Will? This is a classic, which of course, if you haven't seen it, you got a couple issues, but you got to see Shawshank Redemption.
Oh yeah.
Like
100%.
if you haven't
absolutely.
seen that, it's the classic. You got Shawshank, Forrest Gump,
Yeah.
mainly those two. You haven't seen
They're like the staples. that you have
yeah.
to
The parents,
see.
you got someone like is a movie man or a woman.
Yeah.
They should have seen Shawshank.
Yeah,
absolutely.
phenomenal. So good.
What about yourself?
I'm going to keep that hidden.
Oh, really? Okay.
One day I will
Fine.
answer these questions, I promise.
Fair enough.
But we'll leave it up to the viewers.
Comment what you think it is.
Yeah,
Like
comment
and-
down below
like and subscribe.
what you think I would tell you to see. Next question, TV show that you're watching at the moment, Will.
Succession.
Mm,
Yeah.
nice.
Everyone been getting into it, and then I just started flogging it, and it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How far in are you?
Like nearly finished season 2,
Okay.
so don't spoil it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah,
So
great
this
film.
one's a bit of a touchy subject between me and Will
Oh,
Why is this?
because he's been trying to get me to watch Band of Brothers
Oh my
for
God.
like,
Oh.
for like 2 years.
I'd
And
like
I-
to also clarify, James Priest, if you're listening,
Yeah.
we've both been trying to tell him to watch it for
yeah,
years.
for a while, and
Yeah.
he gave me his binge account to watch it because I don't have binge.
Yeah.
And I watched the first 3 episodes, and like think it's great, but I just haven't continued with it. And
How long ago did you stop?
This is probably like 4 weeks ago.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and I've just like kind of just been watching movies instead of TV shows. So, but that's, I guess, what I've been watching. But Will, I promise you, I will.
Easy Company is running Creed.
It is so good. I reckon, like, I didn't even know that it existed. And then it was on TV once, and my brothers were like, oh, you have to watch this. There's this, like, amazing cast. And there's just so many big
Cameos.
names. Yeah.
Even Jimmy Fallon just pops in on a Jeep.
Is Jimmy Fallon in
Jimmy
Band of
Fallon
Brothers?
is in it. Everyone. Like,
It's so good.
Michael Fassbender. So many people.
Band of
in
Brothers
it.
is really good.
Yeah, it's stacked.
Last question. I'm going to add another one in here
Okay.
because this will go into what we're about to talk about. 1984 June or 2021 June.
What do you think, mate? What do you think?
Look, I think David Lynch's Dune has its strengths. There's just not many of them, so I think I'll be saying the 2021 version.
Yeah, absolutely. It's laughable. I haven't seen it like from start to finish, but I just remember what like Will showing me when we got home from watching 2021 June.
Yeah,
we were watching some of this like fight scenes in the car, just pissing ourselves because it's just such a joke.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about the 1984 June later in the episode, but I just thought I would throw that in there. Now, of course, as always, big spoiler warning for the rest of the episode.
Good.
So to the listeners out there who haven't seen Dune yet, what would you say about the movie in, a few sentences?
Loved it. So good. I'll start.
Yeah, go for it, Nick.
Yeah, loved it. I thought it was just like I was saying this to Will. Obviously, like I love Marvel films, but I just feel like we've kind of had that same formula of like the comic relief, like kind of thing. I thought this was just like a no bullshit, like classic, serious
There's
sci-fi film.
Only like one, I think.
There's one
just
gag.
it's got some muscle or something.
Yeah,
like that.
Spoiler warnings.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Like there was no, and I love Marvel films, but like just in terms of like sci-fi, like epic movies, it was the first one I think I've seen in a while that was like, just no bullshit, like proper sci-fi serious. Like it was awesome.
Yeah,
I thought
definitely.
It was great. Like obviously special effects, Hans Zimmer on the score, nailing it as per usual. Like, great.
I do sort
acting
of feel that
performances.
like a lot of Dennis's movies, like Blade Runner, they're just no bullshit. You know what I mean? Like
he's not.
Yeah. Oh,
great,
100%.
100%. I feel like just quickly as well, like he's not being forced to kind of cater to a certain audience, such as maybe younger viewers for the laughs and that sort
Kevin
of thing.
Feige and the Marvel Bros just getting it done. Yeah.
Exactly. I thought that this movie was phenomenal. Like, obviously because the book is so complex and there's this huge world that Frank Herbert has created.
100%.
It's often been dubbed as like the hardest movie to adapt.
Yeah.
And of course, the 1984 version wasn't great. We'll say that, but
there was a mini series as well, wasn't there?
There was.
Yeah, they've done. There's been quite a few. It's like Children of Dune and stuff. Because it follows. They try to adapt like a lot of the other books and kind of series.
Right.
Because there's like 8 books or something.
Yeah,
so
right.
a lot of source material to use.
For sure. And I think in saying that, Denis and all the creators of this movie, they adapted it so perfectly. I thought, to the
really
big
good.
screen. Like, it was, having read the book, it was everything I expected and
100%.
more. Like,
Exceeded for sure.
definitely. Like, cast is insane. Really good performances. The visuals, the cinematography, and as I said, the world building was like some of the best that I've seen since like Lord of the Rings.
Because it's so tough to do. Like, you have that luxury with a book because you can just get so stuck into it. Whereas,
absolutely,
this was only the first half of the first book, and I reckon they managed to set the scene pretty. I mean, what do you reckon? You haven't read the book, Nick? So
I haven't read the book. Yeah, just clarifying. Remember when we were chatting before and we were in a group of people? You asked me if I read the book, and I panicked and I said I did, just because I didn't want to seem uncool in front of your mates. So I haven't read the book, but I have started it.
But what do you think? Like the world building?
Set it up so well.
Easy to follow.
All the different planets, so far.
Yeah.
Caladan, Arrakis, and then what's the...
Gedi Prime is the
Gedi Prime.
Harkonnens.
Yeah.
And then, I don't remember the name of the prisoner
Sardaukar.
planet for the Sardaukars. Yeah.
Me either.
Anyways.
But yeah, I'll just say last thing, like, if you've read the book, it'll be insane viewing. Even if you just love sci-fi, I feel like you can still appreciate it, especially having not read it.
I haven't read the book and
100%.
I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, you don't need to read the book.
And I think as well, part 2 could be, if it, is the same style, it will be, I reckon, a huge, movie for cinema.
Yeah.
It'll be up there.
The whole, the back end of the book is just it goes insane. So I mean, I think that seeing that on the big screen will just be outstanding.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Cannot wait. So yeah, we're going to be breaking down the plot from now. So if you haven't seen Dune, please pause this
Pause,
and
go watch it.
and go viewing 1, 2, 3 movies. Oh, actually,
No, hang
don't
on.
know if we can say that.
Hey,
Go to
hey,
the cinema.
piracy is illegal.
Go to the cinema.
I thought it wasn't a cinema.
Alrighty. So yeah, let's get into it. Of course, you know, a bit of a background of the book for those who haven't read it. You know, Frank Herbert published it in mid-1960s.
Yeah.
It takes place 20,000 years into the future. There's a lot of history of where humanity has gone. You know, they've kind of conquered the stars without computers. After a huge war with robots, basically all computers and AI were banned. So it kind of forced humanity to evolve. And you've got these kind of psychic witches, which of course are the Bene Gesserit.
Scumbags. Scumbags.
These like biological computers called the Mentats,
Yeah.
as well as space travelers who are called the Navigators. And of course, all of that revolves around the spice melange, which are these lovely lagers that we're drinking today. And they kind of enable all these extra powers. And it's only found on one planet, which is Arrakis or Dune. And of course, the universe is kind of ruled by an emperor. And it's a company as well called the Chome Company. And, you know, lots of different families occupy each planet in the known universe. And of course, we have at the start of the film, we've got the Harkonnens who currently rule Arrakis and have control of the spice. But we also have the Atreides family who ruled Caladan before the Emperor, you know, made the Atreides the rulers of Arrakis.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out, it's interesting. I mean, when you think, like, you look at it's that kind of inter-house warfare. It's very similar, I mean, to like Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Same deal. Houses,
Massively.
great houses fighting. It's like, I think it all goes, there's like the War of the Roses, which is like the real sort of actual sort of different houses and stuff that battled. It's interesting how they're all quite similar. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Game of Thrones even took a bit of
Well, I was gonna say, apparently George Lucas took heaps of inspiration from the Dune book.
Yeah,
If you think about
There's
Star
so
Wars,
much.
like
Dude, even
intergalactic
Warhammer
empires.
40K, like there's so much stuff from Dune. Like, there's no AI because the computers rose up and just started murking all the humans. It's everything. It's so insane.
To think that he not only envisioned like AI, but he envisioned it not like, you know, being part of society because, you know, there was like obviously going to create.
That it would like transcend humanity. Or
Yeah.
whatever,
To think of that in the 60s,
60s,
I think is insane.
Wonder if he was just smoking a lot of doobies or something. Open up his mind's eye to really come up with the goods. 100%.
Yeah, and of course, you know, we hear at the start of the film.
Yeah.
We get a bit of exposition, but I thought about all these things, but I thought it was done kind of perfectly. You know, you're introduced to the navigators and how they, you know, safely able to kind of navigate space, and of course the Bene Gesserit. They kind of been crossbreeding bloodlines to try and create what's called the Kwisatz Haderach.
Bit of a mouthful.
Bit of a mouthful.
Say it 3 times.
And yeah, you know, there's all these things that we'll break down as well. But I think that just to talk about the book before we break into the plot, I think that it's really uniquely written because, you know, at the start of each chapter, there's kind of like a diary entry from one of the characters.
Yeah.
That kind of talks from a future tense.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a lot of foreshadowing.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of hard, I guess, to sort of describe it without. But in the books, like, yeah, you can just sort of, you kind of understand, like, yeah, it does sort of foreshadow, I guess, even the books, 2 or 3 books in advance from just the first
Really?
Dune.
Yeah.
So, like, it makes you sort of think that he must have just had this whole epic already planned and written, like,
all in the old novel.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. Crazy. And as well, you know, he's created this huge like universe, and with it comes all these like things that he's just created. So in the book as well, there's actually like a glossary defining all the different, you know, things like we talked about the Bene Gesserit, and the spice.
Omnithopters.
Yeah, like it's insane. Like there's literally a glossary for you to understand what these things are in the book. So just thought I would throw that in there as well.
Worth a read, 100%.
Yeah, definitely read it.
I've started it.
Yeah, I'm not like a huge reader, but knowing that this was coming out,
pulls you in, I reckon.
Definitely.
Like it's one of those you start reading, and go like, what? It's just like it's so like in depth, but like once you sort of get going, then you can't put it down
for sure. Once you get over the hurdle of like understanding what everything is, it's phenomenal. So of course, opening scenes, we kind of get that background of Arrakis, the spice, the universe, everything. And as I said, I thought it was perfect amount of exposition.
Can I just add something? So one thing I loved about the movie is the way that they use like sound design. The opening scene where it's the Sardaukar language speaking. You know how it's like really bassy, and as well when they use the voice later on. So apparently the way that they made it so like full and like have so much low end was that they played a bass tone through speakers in a big room and then re-recorded that room.
Right.
Really?
And then used that
so it was like
a big resonant room of bass that they recorded and then added on to like the sound.
My god.
Yeah.
And also, the thumpers?
Yeah.
So the way they did that was they used like hydrophonic mics, which is like mics that you use under the water. And they like they went into a desert and buried it in the sand at like different levels. And then like hit the sand to like make that noise.
That's
crazy.
So mad.
So sick.
Like to think that they went to that much effort just for things like that.
Yeah.
Is...
Like something you'd think is pretty mundane. Like it's just a little
thump. Yeah.
But like they're going out into the desert and burying the mics.
Literally.
That's commitment.
Serious commitment. And it's a testament to this movie.
Yeah. I did want to quickly also, what I found sick with that message, was it Dreams and Messages in the Deep?
Dreams and Messages from the Deep.
From the Deep. Yeah. I think this whole Sardaukar, it's like Mongolian throat singing.
Yeah.
It like sets it up well because you go like, what am I getting myself into?
Yeah.
And then just like throughout, like sets the mystique of it all. Like
for sure. Super, super like intriguing opening.
Sets it up well.
Yeah. Definitely. Bit of foreshadowing.
Definitely.
Too right.
We obviously get to the planet that the Atreides family are on, Caladan.
Gorgeous.
Like, it's just
gorgeous
planet. Amazing, like
lush.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Lush.
So much water.
Green. It's the kind of landscape and the cinematography of the planet I thought was so cool. All these amazing costumes. Hans Zimmer's score is coming in immediately.
Beautiful.
Yeah. The costumes set him up pretty, like it's just straight away you go like, these guys know what they're doing. They're kitted out.
Yeah.
They got sick palaces.
And
they look like they're no joke.
Who's the emperor's like messenger that comes? Do you know, like, what was his name?
I don't know what his name. Hang on, what's the geezer's name?
I forgot to put him on there.
Not on there, but yeah, the herald.
The herald.
Yeah,
the herald comes in, and
So
the meeting
sick.
between the two is it's sick.
Yeah.
One thing on like while we're on that planet, something I read. Obviously, didn't pick this up in the movie because I've only seen it once. I need to watch it again. But something I've read online. You know how there's the reference to Paul's granddad fighting bulls.
Yeah.
And there's like it's the enemies, the Harkonnens. That comes from a Finnish word that means bull.
Yeah.
And then foreshadowing again in the scene where Leto is like on his deathbed. There's a shot where it shows a bull like hung
He's
up
like
on
looking at it.
The bull head.
Yeah. I just thought that was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just little things like that.
Just, obviously didn't pick up the first time around.
He's awesome. Yeah.
So
100%.
cool. And I think at this point in the movie, we also get Chani, who is played by Zendaya, kind of voiceovering all these things about kind of ships and space travel. And I thought the way that they showed the space travel was so cool.
Yeah,
like,
100%.
I'm not sure what it's called, but the navigators
They're
it's
ships.
like a wormhole.
The ships just look so weird. They're like round. They're like
look like
big
cylinder
bloody
almost,
cylinders.
Yeah, actually, bunch of cylinders
Without the toilet paper on them.
And then we're introduced to Paul, and I thought like, there was a scene like we see Paul kind of sleeping.
Yeah.
And I don't know. This is probably really stupid and dumb, but like, Paul's like sitting on the edge of his bed, and then it came up saying like 10,000 or whatever the year is, AG, after Guild. And I was just like, holy shit, like this is so cool. Like 10,000 years.
And the guild was when the space like Federation was formed.
It was when the navigators took over.
Navigators. Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was so cool. And so we get Paul, who's played by Timothy Chalamet.
Sexy
legend.
Yeah,
the god.
absolute god.
He does not miss that bloke.
He's
on fire.
He's had a
so
great
good.
year too.
Yeah, awesome year.
He's practicing his fighting with Gurney, who's played by Josh Brolin.
Josh Brolin,
He's kind of like
man.
Awesome voice. Josh
Yeah,
Brolin.
he's like
Thanos?
a weapons master.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of that scene, kind of with Paul fighting?
Yeah, I
or
thought
training?
it was pretty awesome.
The whole thing with the shields. What's the line? The slow blade. Do you know
Yeah,
what it is?
well, the whole point, it's the shields deflect anything fast. So it's like the slow blade has to go in. But I thought it was a great scene because in the books, it's kind of hard for Gurney to sort of emphasize, like when Paul's like, I don't want to fight, like I'm tired. Whereas the scene in this movie, and Gurney Halleck just gets stuck into it. They're brutes, and you go like, oh fuck, this guy's not fucking around.
Jesus,
The Harkonnens, they
really doesn't like the Harkonnens.
Nah. I thought the scene was sick, and that it introduces you straight away into the combat, like the shields, the swords, the whack that has to be really slow going in for them to break the shield barriers.
Yeah.
Much better than Lynch's Minecraft shields.
So here's
We'll talk about those later.
Okay.
Something else I found interesting as well, which I didn't pick this up myself, but I read about it, is that so when he's coming in and Gurney Halleck, he says, I recognize your stride, old man.
Yeah.
And then fast forward to the spice harvester scene where the worm is devouring it and Paul's having that weird little wig out.
Yeah.
And he says that line again where he goes, I recognize, because Gurney's coming up to
grabs him.
to help him. And so apparently that's like a reference to his connection to Arrakis and the sandworms. How the sandworms can recognize the footsteps.
Yeah.
So it's like he can also tell the difference.
With people's footsteps.
That's interesting. I
It's
didn't
like
even
alludes
think
to
of that.
his connection to the
to the
sandworms and
planet.
Arrakis. So I thought it was awesome.
That is very, very interesting.
And going back to the like Holtzman shields, where they're fighting, I think it again is to how visionary Frank Herbert was. Like the kind of premise is that lasers and guns can't be fired at these shields. They cause
it makes
like
it much more interesting.
Yeah, they
Explosions
cause like
and stuff.
huge explosions if you use a gun or anything.
Yeah.
And that's why they have kind of like blades and that's like the whole fighting. So I thought that was really cool. Yeah, and then we're kind of introduced to the Harkonnens, which is the other family. They have to leave Arrakis by order of the Emperor. And we are introduced to the Baron, who's played by
Stellan Skarsgård, isn't
that's
it?
it. That's the one.
Stellan? Yeah, Stellan Skarsgård.
I believe so. The patriarch of the Skarsgård family.
Yeah, they got their fingers in a few pies, don't they?
Too bloody right.
Yeah, they
So many of them.
they're in lots of pies, aren't they?
Apple, pear.
But the costume for the Baron was like so
cool.
Yeah. And like the whole Harkonnens, like they're all bald. They wear like eyebrow covers.
It
Created this like really like villainous, but like just kind of shows how like savage they are.
In comparison to like all of the Atreides, like they're all so well dressed. They're in like these gorgeous like robes,
Leto's
and
beard
Leto's
is
beard,
trimmed.
And to the millimeter.
They're dressed like soldiers, right? And then it cuts to like the Harkonnens, and especially the Baron. It's all like very indulgent. The guy's like 1,000 kilos. He's just so
How much would
big.
he weigh?
Well, the whole point is he's got these bloody space suspenders to get him around.
He's got the anti-gravity.
But what is cool though is, and it's something that I think is pretty hard to illustrate from the book, and they don't do it in the 87 or whatever movie, but they show that he's actually really strong. Like he doesn't just look like a bit of a clown, or he's not just in his head. He's actually quite like an intimidating figure. Yeah. Which I thought was quite cool. I think also Geedy Prime as well as a whole, just
great.
in comparison to Caladan, just sets him up straight away. That like, it's black, it's all dark and green goo and shit everywhere.
So slimy.
Yeah, just dirty.
Scary.
Scary, 100%.
And like again, like the way that they show Geedy Prime as like a planet is just like mind blowing. It would probably all be visual effects.
Yeah, 100. It's a bit like it's similar to, I feel like, you know, in Blade Runner and stuff. It's just like sprawling like cityscape. It's all dirty and just like flat. There's no like gorgeous sort of old buildings and things like that. It's very like just technical and industrial.
Yeah, very industrial.
Technical, sorry.
Good word though, industrial.
Yeah. So a bit of background on the Baron. So he was cursed by the Bene Gesserit in the book, and that's why he's kind of so disfigured.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And then we kind of get to the Sardaukar planet.
Yeah.
So they're kind of the Emperor's like
his own personal army.
Yeah, like mercenaries.
Awesome scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, the blood's like pouring out of all
Such
these
a cool
upside
scene.
down
And then
bodies.
And then once again, right, mate. Enough of that.
So cool, insane world building.
Yeah.
And then of course, you know, the Atreides, they arrive at Arrakis.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Opening scene, the bagpipes.
Oh,
Yeah.
the bagpipes.
Shit.
So good.
So cool.
Gets you so amped up.
Yeah.
Is that in the book, the bagpipes? Or is that just an
I don't know.
added thing?
Actually, I can't remember.
Yeah.
But I think, they're all lining up and it just showed, they just look like so boss coming out.
Again,
in all the
Hans
gear.
just,
Yeah.
like
I thought as well, like they're coming off their ship and the doors are going down and it's like so bright and it immediately shows you how like hot and like
you can see
yeah,
the
just
desert
in
planet.
the air.
you
Yeah.
can feel the heat.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
100%.
Who's the cinematographer again?
So the cinematographer on this film is Greg Fraser, who's actually Australian.
He's Australian.
Yeah.
Good man.
Yeah,
killing
he is killing it. Like so under the radar. He did Foxcatcher, Lion. He also did a few episodes of The Mandalorian.
Very nice.
He did this. He's got the new Batman.
He's doing Batman.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
In this year.
That
March.
looks pretty good.
I'm keen for that. Yeah, for sure.
So he's killing it, and he did an excellent job on this. Like,
so good.
They arrive on the planet, and we also get kind of like the are they the Fremen or are they just other people on?
No, they're still Fremen.
Okay.
Like all of the natives are all Fremen.
Yeah.
But they're the ones who sort of, I think these ones obviously live in the city. Like they still count.
Yeah. So we like see all of them. There's like, you know, thousands of them.
Yeah, on the outside.
It's so cool. And like, obviously, you know, this fleet of ships are coming down.
It sets up, you go, like, it thinks, like, you just go, wow, like they've got a big army. Like they look like they're pretty set up. All these ships, all these soldiers, all in formation. You go like, yeah, these guys are ready to party.
What are
They're
the
good to
little
go.
helicopters called again?
Omnithopters.
Omnithopters, yeah.
Yeah.
Very
Interesting
cool.
one.
And then we get the Gom Jabbar scene.
Such a good scene.
So, you know, Paul's like woken up by his mother, who is Lady Jessica, played by Rebecca Ferguson.
She's a Bene Gesserit herself.
She
is,
nailed that role. She did so well.
So insane. And, you know, she wakes him up. And I didn't really think about this at the time, but so the Gom Jabbar is like this test of like whether Paul is like the
Kwisatz Haderach or whatever.
However
you pronounce it.
yeah, kind of like chosen one.
Yeah.
And you can, if you like, you put your hand in the box and it's just like pain inside there. And if he removes his hand, he's killed.
Yeah,
He's
the poison
killed,
needle.
Yeah,
jabs him
so
in the neck.
she when she wakes him up, she knows that he could die. In 5 minutes.
And she, I mean, and she should expect that because isn't the whole yarn? It's like it's meant to be.
And she did that.
Woman.
She did the Gom Jabbar as well, didn't she?
Yeah.
When she was
Because it's meant I think in their mind they want it to be a woman who's the Kwisatz Haderach or whatever.
Yeah.
And so she wasn't actually meant to give Leto a son, which is obviously Paul, but she did. So and that's when the troubles started.
Cool use as well in that scene of the voice.
Yeah,
because you know how when
to the we introduced earlier?
yeah, we are,
Yeah,
but
they
he
did it in water.
doesn't do, like he's not very good at it yet. Like she only half gives him the water, and then obviously the
Reverend Mother,
obviously
she does it to
obviously
him.
the Reverend Mother does to him like so well. Like he just nips across the room straight away.
And he kind of like he goes like unconscious. Like they do it perfectly.
Yeah, they like editing and sound in that is so cool. The way they portray the voice.
And it really carries like how powerful the Reverend Mother is. So she's like the Emperor's truth sayer, they call it.
Yeah.
Played by Charlotte Rampling. And she's obviously testing Paul, and it's amazing that like Timothy Chalamet like has to show all the emotion of like his hand like burning inside.
His
box.
It's so cool.
It's insane. Like he does it so well. What
I think that was one of the first scenes they filmed as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Makes sense. Sets the scene for a bloody great flick. That's for sure.
Definitely.
But Timothy's so good.
Yeah. And I rewatched this a second time in cinemas, and on the rewatch, there's like the moment where he like kind of overcomes the pain.
The power comes back.
And the music kicks
comes in.
And he looks up at her and she's quaking in her boots.
Yeah.
And you go like, and he's just getting into her.
And he's looking up and you're like, holy shit, like this guy is it. And it's just like so cool.
Yeah.
I literally had like chills when I was watching that.
Yeah. That was insane, that bit.
So cool. And then we get kind of all these like desert shots because they want to
get the lay of the land. We're introduced to Leah Kynes, aren't we?
We are, yeah. So Leah Kynes is played by Sharon Duncan Brewster.
Yeah.
Interestingly, she was a male in the
books and in that Lynch's movie. So it's interesting that they gender swapped it. But I mean, she did a pretty good job though for the character. I thought
she did really well.
Yeah.
And so she's like kind of this judge of the change, like of the planets being swapped over to the Atreides.
Yeah, she's the ecologist as well. The planet, isn't she?
Yeah. And that was like really cool, like scene where she's fitting everyone with the still suits. So the still suits like make sure everyone keeps their water in the desert. And Paul's like already
he knows how to
do it.
Yeah, and what's because the line she said, it's like he'll know your ways before,
as if
if you're one of you.
Yeah, something like that. And you're like, oh shit. And they're like kind of like incepting like who Paul's going to become. And so they like fly out to check on the like spice harvesting.
Yeah.
Awesome scene.
So cool. Like Omnithopter like flying like all over the sort of desert landscape. Really cool.
So we get the first look at the sandworms as well.
Yeah.
Talked about, and then huge,
so big. Like in the books, like so the whole planet is like filled with these sandworms. That make it really dangerous to harvest the spice. And the scale of them in this movie was insane. Like you're like, holy shit.
Yeah, it's because again, it's hard to bloody paint in a book, and then you see like these huge like spice harvesters and all these little drones and stuff zipping around. And then this huge friggin' worm comes out of it. Oh god, makes the Sarlacc from Star Wars look like a bloody puppy.
That's it. And I was like in awe from the scale, and like it was really cool when they're like, worm sign like 5 minutes out or whatever. And I didn't really understand in the book what a carryall was like and how that kind of worked. Like this ship basically has to pick up the harvesters so they don't get eaten by the worms. And it just starts like building this like kind of tension. And you're like, oh shit, the clock's ticking. What did you guys think of that like sort of scene? And
I thought the suspense starts building. And I think what was really cool, and obviously like in the way they did it, is that essentially when they wanted to just leave the spice harvesters, and the spice workers were like, just leave us, we need the spice, because like their mentality on it is so focused on like, we need to harvest it. And then Leto just straight away goes like, stuff the spice, we're not losing that 18 men, stuff the bloody harvester, get those men onto the ships, get them out now. And you see Kynes like look over, and then she kind of realizes like, maybe he isn't actually like the Harkonnens. He doesn't just care about the spice.
Yeah, absolutely. And like they obviously like quickly kick into gear, like throwing out these shield generators to like make room and stuff. And you kind of see how like smart Paul is. Like he's suggesting all these things. And so they obviously jump out to go save them. And
that's when he has a bit of a moment.
Like
because he ingests the spice, isn't it? And then it brings on a vision.
Isn't that the first time he's like setting foot on the actual dune?
On sand.
On the sand.
And he tastes the spice for the first time, and that score, that Hans Zimmer score kicks in. It's so good. And like the worm is like a minute away, and you're like, holy shit,
dude,
bro! Like
these guys are about to get absolutely murked by this thing.
So like all the harvesters like get onto the ships, and Paul's like kind of in his daze. And we hear these like voices kind of like saying I feel like they said kind of like these are his first steps or something like that.
Yeah.
So cool. And as you said earlier, like he then
He
says,
recognizes
like,
Gurney Halleck's
I recognize your
strides.
footsteps.
Yeah.
And he gets saved, and like it's so cool. Like the score's building, like the whole sand like vibrates because the worm's like so close.
So just it like manages to build the scale of it. Like before you even see him like properly out of the dune, it's like everything around him is shifting. It's like the sand almost moves into like a bit like water. Like,
literally.
It's all flowing.
Oh, it's so cool. And then they obviously get onto the Omnithopter, and you see the worm's mouth, and you're like,
how small the harvester is.
Yeah. Oh, and the harvester itself was huge.
Yeah. In comparison,
huge
worm.
So I thought that scene was awesome. Like so cool.
Yeah. Definitely.
Then kind of, Leto's like suggesting how the Harkonnens left the planet with such little resources because the carrier all broke.
Yeah. How much spice they're going to be harvesting.
Yeah.
Like they're just absolutely up the creek without a paddle, so to speak.
Absolutely. And we kind of, start to think that there's this like conspiracy happening.
Yeah.
And Paul's like sleeping in the night, and what's the little thing that comes in to try and assassinate him?
I don't remember the name, but
Heat Seeker or something.
Something like that.
We'll go with that. We'll go with the Heat Seeker. I think it is something like that, anyways.
Yeah,
it's so tiny, and it's when he's training. He's like in between the hologram things, and he just sees it, and it's like zips straight into his, and it's so tiny. You're like, oh my god, this guy's gonna get fed. Then gets saved by Shadat Mapes opens the door.
Yeah. But that scene where the doctor, what's his name, Doc Huey?
Yeah.
Portrays them.
And
turns off the shields.
Oh.
Yeah.
So cool. Like
absolute scumbag.
Oh man. And like the Duke Leto, he like kind of knows something's up, and he's like he wakes up and finds the like housemaid dead,
and then his guard's like knocked out. And then
Dr. Yue paralyzes him.
Yeah, paralyzes him.
And you're like, oh my god.
But then like Semi redeems himself as well with the poison tooth. And he also gave the supplies to Paul and Lady Jessica.
And the ring.
And the
ring.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Yeah. And then, the ships start coming down. And
oh my god. Oh boy.
The best scene.
Yeah. Best scene ever. Like the can I just say like the part where
he's Gurney runs
out. And Josh Brolin's like, get everything off the ground or whatever.
Get anything that's got guns off the ground.
And they're all running, and there's like a shot like of all these tiny ships, but there's like hundreds of them.
There's so many of them.
And you're like, holy shit. And they start absolutely decimating.
Yeah. And it's sick because you see they start dropping like the bombs onto them, and you see that with the shields, they have the shields on the ships, and it's the same thing with like the knives. They have to slow down, and they go like really creepily slow through the shield, and then just blow them up.
Oh.
Yeah, that was that scene, and then all the Sardaukar and the Harkonnens coming down.
Is that the first time we see the Sardaukar fight?
Yeah, and they're dead silent as well, which is like so. I think
they come down.
So it's like there's the Atreides are fighting on the steps against the Harkonnens, and they're all like yelling at each other.
Yeah,
Atreides are pumping them, and then the Sardaukar just drop in behind them, and they're dead silent.
Yeah.
I reckon that is such a wig out.
Yeah,
they're like, everyone else is yelling like war cries and stuff. And
literally,
I remember you pointed that out to me while we were watching. Cinemas.
I think as well, like that scene where they're on the stairs. There's probably like 30 Atreides soldiers.
Yeah,
but there are like hundreds of Harkonnens just
coming at them.
And then the Sardaukar come from the other side. And you're like, holy shit! Like these people are brutal. Like as Gurney said, like it was so epic. And like the score's obviously building, and the Atreides are like fighting back, but they're just getting absolutely smashed.
Yeah, just outnumbered.
Yeah, that scene was unreal.
Can't forget the big man though, Momoa.
No, yes.
Momoa,
so we finally see Duncan Idaho, played by Jason Momoa. He
in action
because he's like a swords master, right?
Yeah. He's meant to be like one of their best. It's him and Gurney, the two.
Yeah, and you see the kind of slow blade fighting like in
Yeah.
action.
Yeah.
And
It's
he's
so
just
sick.
He's just killing it.
Just
people.
pumps them with his swords. I mean, I do love him, but it's kind of funny because he plays like very similar character in a lot of like you can see like he's in the samurai like with his sword. It's actually there. Even his like sword play and fight style is very similar.
Yeah.
Even as as Khal Drogo with his big sickle. Like it's his characters at the fight. It's just
He was born for it.
yeah. 100%.
Yeah, that was epic to see him in action.
Yeah.
And then of course we get the Barons like sitting at the kind of like table.
At the
Great
table.
scene.
Yeah.
I really liked that scene. That
And
was,
Leto's like paralyzed,
Butt naked in the
Yeah.
in the-
Yeah,
in
as
the
you
bath.
do. Why did he have to be naked?
Well, I think, I mean, it's meant to, he's just trying to show how much he's taken away from him.
Yeah, true.
Because, and what does he say? It goes like,
And he's there eating at the other
like
end.
the other end
Yeah.
of the table. Looks like he's got the sausage in his hand, which is a bit interesting. Having a nibble on
He's like,
old
nice banquet cousin. I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
So he's got, how is he
they're related. So
How does
all
that
of
work?
them. So the whole point is Emperor, like they're all related. So the reason why there's the Bene Gesserit, they all want to make the Kwisatz Haderach by joining the bloodlines.
Yeah.
So like obviously the Harkonnens are related to the Atreides and things. And actually, I don't know if this is a spoiler. Actually, no, it's not. Sorry. All right. Because the reason why they wanted to have a female Atreides heir was because they could breed it with someone else. And then from that would be the Kwisatz Haderach because that's two great bloodlines coming together.
And that was like cool to kind of get those references, but they're not like in our face, really kind of subtle, which is
I was
cool.
confused when I didn't realize they were related.
Yeah, then we kind of see like how kind of evil the Baron is. Like
Yeah.
Dr. Yue's helped this whole thing happen.
And he just rips him apart.
He just kills him immediately.
Which, because what is
his wife's...
It's because he can't trust him because he's a betrayer.
Yeah.
So it also does show, just so calculating, like no remorse, just
No
like,
remorse.
straight to the point.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And then of course Duke Leto like bites on his tooth and tries to poison the Baron, but he like puts his shield up.
Yeah, the Mentat, his Mentat dies. What's his name? The ball bastard. Yeah,
Played by
Peter de Vries or whatever.
Malchian or whatever.
Yeah. He's good.
He's
very
great
good.
actor. Yeah.
But and then he gets murked and he's gone.
Yeah.
That's a good scene.
Yeah, and then like kind of I think after that happens, Duncan Idaho, he's like, fought his way out of there. And he kills like maybe he's going to
Pumping
an
through the
Omnithopter.
Harkonnens, yeah.
He kills like 3 of them, and then like
Other
a
two
group just back off.
Just bitch it.
I thought that was so cool.
Yeah.
So he kind of escapes, and everything's just burnt to the ground. The trees are like burnt.
Which is
so they're
obviously
just
that they
ruined.
showed the point previously with those trees, how I think what was it, one tree drinks the water of like 40 men a day. Or
something like that.
And there's like 20 of them.
Just to show how like precious
Water is there. Yeah.
So that was really cool. Of course, Paul and Lady Jessica kind of get kidnapped by the Harkonnens. And like they're going to be put into the desert. But we get that like using of the voice. And the like battle sign language kind of thing. It's really cool.
And
what did you guys think of that scene?
Sick scene, and as well, you shows how powerful Lady Jessica is.
Yeah.
She uses the
definitely.
voice with absolute ease. Like Paul obviously does it for the first time properly, and then as soon as she gets the mouth thing off, and she just murks all of them.
It also sort of shows like kind of how a lot of the Harkonnens are a bunch of idiots. Like, because, so obviously the whole yarn is like, the reason why they had to get the Sardaukar in there is because the Atreides would have completely pumped the Harkonnens on a 1v1, even though there's way more Harkonnens themselves. And then like, one of them's deaf. Like, they're just like slimy scumbags. Like, they're trying to, like, they want to have sex with the, scum.
Absolute scum. And absolutely, like we see how powerful Jessica is. They obviously like take over the ship and they're now stuck in the desert.
I think it was just something also how like, again, she's just like, it takes no prisoners. Like, she just gets the knife out and just stabs both of them. And then like, she's like,
she's a boss bitch.
She's a boss bitch.
Boss
Right.
bitch for sure.
100%.
And then we get that cool scene where like they're both looking back at the town just annihilated, and they kind of realize what's happened, and
they find out that
Leto's dead.
Yeah. And he's got like the ring.
Yeah.
So that was awesome.
The note from Eora as well.
Yeah. So then, of course, they're kind of stuck in the desert. They set up like a tent, and there's spice in the tent, and Paul's like having those visions. What did you guys think of that?
I thought that was a great scene.
Yeah.
Because I think you finally start to see like the madness, I guess, sort of take over. And he's like, he starts to actually start losing it. And he's like, what's happening to me? Why have you done this to me? So he's blaming
upset.
Jessica.
Yeah.
He's like, why'd you breed me? This is all your fault. Like, because you meddling with it. You're a Bene Gesserit. Like, you didn't love my father, all this stuff. And he's just like, goes Burko.
Oh, for sure. And he shows like such good range. And like, when you actually think of it, he's like a teenager.
Yeah.
And it's insane that like he's having like these powers of like having future visions.
Yeah.
So yeah, we do really see that.
Timothy acts the house down.
He
there.
does, doesn't he? Yeah.
So
again.
good.
And it shows him like sort of becoming that Lisan al-Gaib, which the Fremen call like the chosen one or whatever.
And it does show like Rebecca's like she's scared, like because when he then uses the voice on her, she just and then like obviously she like has to force to like back up. And then after that, she's still like she's like, oh my god, like he's no joke.
He's really like starting to turn into that.
Yeah.
That was awesome. And then we kind of see like Liet Kynes like helping Paul and Jessica in the desert. They go to like an old ecology base.
Yeah.
And then I thought it was so cool when they're like
the Sardaukar
comes down.
just, like,
again, dead
drop
silent.
down.
Dead silent.
And
Yeah.
then all the Fremen, like you can't, because the Fremen, you can't see them. And then they all pop up out of the sand and just start fucking attacking them.
So cool. And like back to that like cinematography, like the shot, like there's like these shadows and like
of them coming
so
down,
cool.
like the white, it looks awesome.
Yeah.
Off and the light glinting off the sand. It's just
Gorgeous.
Insane. And again, we get Duncan Idaho just murdering them. Like
another scene in a hallway with these big swords, just taking names.
Yeah, and then we get like the he gets stabbed after like the 20th Sardaukar
Yeah, and he
comes.
falls down, and you go like he's done for.
He's
And
gone.
they start putting the last gun or whatever through the door, and then he gets up and
that was
has
epic.
another round and takes out another
go.
4 of them.
Yeah,
Oh
it's
my
like it's
God.
very Boromir of
Yes.
Fellowship of the Ring. I was getting huge Boromir
And it's one of
vibes.
those like because like for the amount of screen time he has, he absolutely owns it. Momoa,
for sure.
Like like the character is just so brutal and like scary.
Yeah, for sure. Sad to see him go as
Yeah,
well.
shame he carved it, but
Yeah.
great.
And
character.
anyone who reckons they should bring him back for part 2, please, come on, wake up.
He's gone, all right?
Yeah.
he's dead.
And then we get that thumper scene with Liet Kynes like calling the sandworm. And she's got the like grappling things or whatever.
She's
and you're
about
like,
to ride the worm.
yeah, and I was
But-
like, fuck, please happen, please happen.
Yeah.
Something that's interesting they changed from the book is so in this she obviously gets killed by the Sardaukar. They come behind her and knife her. But in the books, which I actually kind of preferred, is it's actually that she gets killed just by a worm.
Oh, really?
Like the Sardaukar aren't actually there. I think it's like she's meant to be walking on her own, or he in the book, obviously. He's meant to be like walking to like find his way, and he starts running out of water, and he has these visions from his father, and he's like, it's all meant to be about how even the most experienced of the Fremen, which in this case is Liet, like the Dunes will still take him,
Yeah.
and then he gets taken by the worm, and then obviously they've changed it because I guess that's probably a bit much to have on screen. And then it was just the Sardaukar who killed her.
Yeah. That
And then
was,
what's the walk called that they have to do to walk without
Just-
rhythm?
yeah.
I don't know what it's called.
I don't know if it's called anything, but
Don't
that's
they
really
call it
cool.
something?
Like an irregular rhythm type thing.
I swear they call it something.
You
Am
might
I
have to
wigging out?
Dior that.
Yeah. I don't know.
What?
Dior, do your own research.
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay, all right,
Good dog.
yeah.
Yeah. So that was
There's
really
the sandwalk.
Sandwalk.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah.
That's
I
it.
told you.
That would make sense.
Yeah,
Pretty
it's called-
self-explanatory. Isn't it? The irregular,
Why didn't we think of that?
The irregular walk?
Yeah.
Yeah, so then Lady Jessica and Paul, they escape again. They get the like sandstorm. Paul kind of like trusting his instinct or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they find the Fremen. So we finally, get introduced they like go
To the
into this
rest of
like
them.
rock cavern.
Yeah.
Was that after the worm?
Yeah. So are you talking about when they meet before they meet the Fremen, they have to chase. They did that big chase with the worm, and they finally get into like the rocks, and the worm disappears or whatever. They just make the nick of time,
Yeah.
and then that's as they're walking up, then they encounter the Fremen.
And like the worm as well, like kind of like looking at him.
Yeah, so like staring, like so big, just like
And
staring
then
at
doesn't
him.
it gets called away by the thumper,
yeah.
by the Fremen.
Yeah.
Because they just want to kill them and
It
get
was
the water.
Jamis, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they obviously, meet Chani, meet Stilgar, played by
Abiar Bardem.
Yeah, that's it.
What a lord.
Also, quick reference. I thought it was really cool when he like came into
Meet them.
treaties
Yeah,
and he
yeah.
like
And he
spits or whatever.
spits, yeah.
that was
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
The
funny.
sign of respect, like, yeah, because like obviously losing one's water is like such a big thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was cool. So yeah, then we they kind of try and they want to kill them both.
Take their water, even when Stilgar knows it's Lady Jessica and it's Paul.
Yeah.
Like remembers him from that scene. He goes like, you know me, like I'm Duke over this fiefdom, and it's like, well, your Duke's dead. They're still like gonna kill them, and they manage to and then it's like I think they're gonna save him and then kill her, but then she uses like the weirding way or whatever and gets her arms around Stilgar. Paul dashes off.
Meet Zendaya.
Yeah, finally, that was cool.
Ooh la la.
Very keen to see how their relationship forms.
Because I mean, like everyone kind of complained that she got like 7 minutes.
She got no screen
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, but it's like I mean,
It's
I
the
mean,
next
I
one.
assume
it's a
part two, she's
two-parter,
got-
and
yeah.
she'll get a lot of airtime.
She will.
in the following, hopefully, following movies.
Yeah.
And then I guess it goes down to Jamis wanting to fight. Wants to fight
Yeah.
him. I thought what was interesting. So he's in his flash forwards. I guess he sees Jamis as the one training him. Like, so I don't know if you guys picked up
saw
on
that.
this,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
so Jamis is like his tutor, his mentor, and showing him all this stuff. And that's in one of his flash forwards when he's obviously back on Caladan or something. And then in real time, he's actually the one who wants to kill him.
Yeah. So the dreams aren't.
The dreams aren't always like what actually happens. They're
That
like
was really cool.
many of the different possibilities that could kind of occur.
Yeah. So of course, Paul beats him, but like kind of hasn't killed anyone before.
Yeah.
So it was a big step for him.
And it also shows in that scene, like he goes like, is he dancing with him? He's like, is he playing? He's toying with him because obviously everyone thought Jamis would absolutely mop the floor with Paul, but he's such a good fighter. And you can hear like the frustration, like Jamis is like crying out because like, he wants a good death because he's been insulted and stuff.
Yeah.
I thought,
that was really
First
cool.
time that Paul's killed someone. Like, he's never killed anyone before,
it's like
so it's tough for
kind
him.
of him like, turning a new page. Like that's sort of where it's a good sort of, I guess, way to, sort of bring the film to a close. That final sort of fight scene.
Yeah.
It's like that's where he actually takes that final step over and kind of moves into that
For sure.
role.
My only critique, I suppose, was that I don't think that fight scene was as climactic as
it
could have been.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like it was still good, but I feel like, obviously we've had all of those awesome fight scenes and action sequences. And then that one, I just kind of felt like it was the last one, felt like a tiny bit flat.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I do. I don't know, because there's some movies where it's like parts where it
can still end on a
can
climax.
still end. Yeah. Like I know, like even though a lot of people don't like them, but I actually did. The Hobbits, each of them sort of tied up, and you could almost watch it as its own standalone. Whereas I do know what you mean. It kind of does feel like, it's such an abrupt sort of finish to the film. Like he has that fight.
It's a very quick.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? It's probably only 40 seconds or a minute.
Yeah, I think the reason they might have did that is because they just want to show how effective a fighter Paul is.
True.
And just that Jamis thinks he's going to destroy him. Everyone and all the other Fremen think he's going to lose as well. Even Chani thinks that. So maybe that's why.
Yeah.
Possibly.
I
That
feel
is like my only critique.
No,
I
fair.
suppose.
Yeah. It's a good
for
point.
sure. I feel like purely because it was setting up the next one.
Yeah.
Maybe the next one, of course, there's going to be a lot
So
of
much
big
more.
action sort of scenes.
What about the Flash when he has that when he's having the the scenes in the tent when they show him in the gold and the fight scenes
having that
and it's the
huge
huge
battle.
battles.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
wow.
that
Yeah.
is sick.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
That will be coming.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like because they were setting it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was probably my only critique as well. But
yeah.
still, good setup. They get accepted by the Fremen.
Yeah.
And we kind of
Going off into the desert.
They're going off into the desert.
They're going to go to the siege.
Yes. So yeah, good setup. Obviously, so keen for part 2. So that's basically the whole movie.
Yeah.
What are some final takes you guys thought for the film?
Yeah. As I've said, loved it. Can't wait for round 2. I think they're starting to film it in 2 months or so.
Yeah. Yeah.
So 2023.
Yeah. I hope
Cannot
so.
wait. I wish they had gotten
Back to back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like in Lord of the Rings, again, referencing Lord of the Rings.
Just so bloody good.
How they got approval to film all 3 movies at once and then release them one by one.
It's
afterwards.
like,
I really wish they did that with this.
Even Godfather Part 1 and Part 2, they would just squirt those out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Like, it's just the waiting. Because now it was like, it was so, I thought, like, that was such a amazing interpretation of the book. And like, they had to trim the fat, so to speak, and they left out like some good scenes, like the banquet scene from the book.
Yeah.
Like leaving that out. But I mean, I think it's tough because that's a scene where there's a lot of that like in your own head talk.
Yeah.
Which they obviously take out of this adaptation of the movie. So I think they kind of did the best with the best use of the source material, I think.
Yeah.
As they could have.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
for
definitely,
sure.
for sure.
I think
it was
like,
awesome.
yeah.
The
100%.
casting, all the characters, I just thought absolutely nailed
And all those
it.
people who I've spoken to who
Yeah.
are huge fan of the books
Yeah.
haven't complained about, because it is tough
Yeah,
adapting a film
yeah,
from a
definitely.
book. And I reckon
So
they just
tough.
absolutely nailed it.
And I think, one that's got such a history as Dune, like that is
And such a big fan base.
such a
as well.
source for so many other like Star Wars, like or so much sci-fi.
Literally.
For is it Dennis?
Denny.
Denny. Yeah.
Right, that's a tough one. For Denis to be able to adapt it the way he did, it's just exceptional.
Oh, I think something I found out which was really cool was that he was such a big fan of the books.
Yeah.
When he was like a teenager or a
Yeah,
young adult,
yeah.
he like wrote the storyboards of
Really?
Wow.
the movie if he could make it. And
Yeah, because he said he
literally,
always
and
he
made
always
those.
wanted to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I thought like that was a testament to him knowing the source material
Yeah.
and like adapting it to the screen like perfectly. Like as we said before, you know, there was like the perfect amount of exposition of all the things that like could have been, you know, in
all
the
the
movie.
world building, all the characters.
Built the world perfectly. Like the cast was insane and
Cast,
such good
yeah.
performances from them.
Yeah,
all.
I think Timothy really nailed that. I can't really think of anyone else.
that you thought didn't. Or
No, that I thought could play Paul. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
Oh,
sure
no.
there would be,
yeah.
but, like,
I think
Timothy
though
just
it's also
nailed it.
quite tough because it's like once you've seen the movie, now
Yeah.
all you can think of
Yeah.
is Paul.
Yeah.
Whereas like hypothetically, the movie wasn't a thing.
Yeah,
There'd be so many people that could
Tom
probably
Holland
come to
as
mind.
Yeah.
Right,
Tom Holland
right,
and
where we
Zendaya
going
again.
this time? I don't, mate. Zendaya, my girlfriend. Please don't hurt me, Tom.
Being girlfriend and boyfriend in every single movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Makes it quite short.
so good. And part 2, I think, will be insane. Like,
Yeah.
cannot wait for that.
I'm excited to see. I mean, I'm sure we'll get a glimpse of the Emperor.
Yeah.
In the next chapter.
Yeah, they do. They have to. At the end,
Yeah.
actually, no, sorry. Not
Yeah, no spoilers, but
Yeah.
I'm keen to see him. on
Keen
the
to
big
see who
screen.
plays him.
Who
Exactly.
plays him
Yeah.
and who plays Princess Arulan.
Yeah. Some big characters to come. still.
Huge.
Yeah, so that's it for Dune Part 1. Such a good film. So definitely, you know, up there in terms of sci-fi. Yeah, so, you know, as always, we like to reach out to the Cinemates community and get some thoughts for what they think of Dune Part 2. So we have Josh, who has kindly sent in his thoughts.
Here we go.
And we'll see what he has to say.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on. Been loving the podcast so far and can't wait to hear you guys break down Dune. Thought the movie was incredible and the start of a very exciting long-term franchise that is going to really revolutionise the sci-fi genre. Denis Villeneuve has perfectly introduced the story to a new audience, as well as people who are familiar with the book. I also think we're also going to see a lot of nominations and wins for this movie during award season. Charlemagne and Ferguson were excellent for me and the perfect choices for Paul Atreides and Lady Jessica. The score and cinematography was also amazing for me and big highlights for the movie. In terms of predictions for part 2, I really think this first movie is building up to a much bigger and better second movie that is going to delve into a much deeper story around these characters, as well as introduce new and exciting characters that haven't been introduced, as well as more of the Dune cinematic world. It's going to be really interesting to see how Villeneuve is going to introduce Emperor Shaddam into this adapted story, as well as Princess Irulan, who will be a very important character for the rest of the second movie, as well as a potential third film after that. Given the characters cast in the first movie, I think we're going to have very high expectations for the actors who will be playing both the Emperor and the Princess, as well as a couple of supporting characters that are yet to be introduced. Finally, I think the scale of the battle and action sequences is going to be incredible to watch on the big screen, as well as much more prevalent and bigger than the first film. Given Villeneuve's previous works, I think we can expect bigger and better things from Dune Part 2.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. That
Very
was
extensive.
awesome.
It definitely covered off everything. And something that we didn't actually mention, award ceremony, ding, ding, ding.
Yeah. Oh,
I reckon
100%.
this thing's going to clean up
Oscar
the
buzz. Here we
Oscar
go.
buzz.
For sure. No, thank you so much for sending that in, Josh. Could not agree more. I think part 2 will be, cannot wait for it. I think as well, one thing that you touched on that was really good was, the awards. I think Golden Globes already happened and Hans Zimmer obviously won. I thought that his score and the sound design was insane. We'll see what happens with the other kind of awards coming up. But great takes there overall.
So just thought we'd briefly touch on David Lynch's, what was it, 86
Is it
version of
84?
84, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
84. Semantics.
Yeah.
There were some shockers
Oh
during
my
that film.
God.
Stings in it?
Yes, Sting plays what, Freud Rather?
Yeah.
Well, who we don't know. They don't know who that character is. But you watch the fight scene with Paul and Gurney Halleck,
Yeah.
and their shields. They look like Minecraft.
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 I mean, like,
it's fucking so
obviously, like special effects.
Yeah,
in the
80s.
but
Dude,
still,
I reckon
like,
they
still.
could have done anything but that.
So they could have done something practical.
Just
with
not
it,
even not even shown
Don't
the
show
shield.
them,
Yeah,
It just looks so silly.
That was
Silly.
insane.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen it till I wanted to watch it before this, and I think I got like 20 minutes in,
Yeah,
and I
can't
just
get through
couldn't.
it.
I couldn't.
Yeah.
I couldn't watch anymore. It was so ridiculous. Like the costumes are weird.
Yeah.
They have the like third person speaking to themselves kind of thing.
The
Oh, so they
Baron,
include the
yeah,
third
they
person?
do. So it's
Yeah,
like,
right.
that's when he's like,
They'll zoom
when they're
in
having
and,
the
like,
fight, it zooms in, and he's like, "Why is Gurney acting this way?
Yeah.
He's so aggressive. He's normally quite a level-headed fighter. What could be going on? Could this be about the Emperor's arrival? Like, righto, mate. I don't want to know the whole life story.
Yeah.
It's so unnecessary.
It's so
Yeah, that would do my
and
head.
like
The Baron.
the Baron. He's like got all these
Disgusting.
pimples.
These boils and stuff. And he looks like he's wearing a gimp suit.
Yeah.
It's like latex. Like, it's so weird.
And he's just yelling the whole time. Like,
Yeah.
I can't even understand.
Oh,
it.
and all the Harkonnens have orange hair. Which
Yeah,
Yeah,
weird.
what?
Interesting.
I saw that.
makes
and, like,
sense. Oh, actually, wait a second.
yeah, there's just weird things like throughout. Like even the camera, like
The
pro-
odd zooms.
They
It
have
just
these
does-
weird
It's really
zooms.
weird.
It's so weird. And like one thing that kind of pissed me off was the I think it's the navigators. They had dogs.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
But,
Oh,
like,
yeah. There's
oh,
dogs in it.
there's dogs in it. I was like,
yeah.
I could be wrong here, but like 20,000 years into the future, like would dogs still be pets?
Yeah. You'd think they'd have some giant bloody she-wolves.
They're
coming
definitely-
out or something.
Yeah.
You'd ride them.
It is interesting how obviously David Lynch has gone on to do great work
Yeah.
since, but dude, he
That,
missed the
that
mark
one
on that
fell
one. Yeah.
pretty... It was
Oh.
also, though, tough to cram in that whole book into one movie.
Yeah, right.
Like, that's a saga in
Yeah.
of itself. And something that I did wig me out is how the navigators look in that movie. They're
that
like
was-
huge. They look like giant crabs or like the banthas from Star Wars, I think.
yeah.
Just like so, not a bantha, that's the wrong one, but just weird.
Yeah.
And they're floating in their spice tanks.
Yeah,
They got
right.
weird like tentacles.
Yeah.
Like, ugh.
Weird breathing, like
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
just- yeah.
These aren't tentacles, they're genticles.
Yes.
Just weird.
Weird movie.
Overall,
Yeah, weird.
pretty freaking average.
Yes. Yeah. This one, 2021 version, definitely better than this. Yeah. So now, of course, in the last episode, we did not have an elevator pitch, but we will be bringing back the Cinemates elevator pitch for this one. So in the James Bond episode for No Time to Die, Spencer kindly recommended the TV show on Netflix, Dark. So I'll just give my thoughts on Dark. Now, I think I may have mentioned that I watched the entire first season in a day when I first started watching it. So the show was so good. Like,
did you watch it subbed or dubbed quickly?
I was really hungover, so I watched it dubbed, unfortunately. I know, but still, it was really good. It was like, honestly, one of the best TV shows I've watched. Definitely immediately into my top 10 of all time. And that's saying a lot. Like, I smashed through all 3 seasons in about a week. It's, set in this German town. And as Spencer said, it starts as like a kind of crime mystery and just turns into this insane sci-fi.
Yeah, it really runs with it.
Oh, absolutely.
Buckle up. Yeah. Hold on to your shoes because you're going for a ride.
Literally, like, time travel. I thought that it was like the best portrayal of time travel on screen, because it really shows, without spoiling anything, it really shows, like, if you could travel through time, it's really hard not to spoil, but if you could travel through time, what implications that would actually have. Cinematography, the music, the performances from, the German cast are so good. And there's all these like little long takes that you don't quite like notice. And like the filming is just insane.
Just adds to it. Yeah.
It just adds to it. And I thought that Dark was an insane show. So Spencer, huge thank you for recommending it. Absolutely loved it. And please, if you haven't watched Dark, could not recommend it more highly. So it's on Netflix. Go check it out.
I'll add it to my list for sure.
For sure, add it to the list. And if you want to know like what it kind of is an equivalent of, think kind of like True Detective meets Stranger Things. And yeah, look, it's insane. I would go as far to say that it is better than Stranger Things.
Ooh, big call.
So definitely.
I could see that.
Yeah.
Just make sure it's worth watching subbed, I think. Did you watch the other 2 seasons subbed?
Subbed, yeah. I changed to subbed after. Because you obviously get all the emotion and stuff.
Yeah.
And last thing, it was kind of similar to Westworld. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but similar to Westworld in that you're being taken on this journey, but you don't get the answers till the very end.
Yeah.
And it just makes for
it all
the
comes
best.
you're confused throughout majority of it, and then it all comes together in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. So big thank you again, Spencer, for Dark. So the next elevator pitch from the Cinemates community comes from James. He's been suggesting this one for a while, so let's hear his pitch.
Hey Michael, quick elevator pitch for the podcast. I'd like to recommend 000, an 8-episode series about the business that is the global drug trade. It is based off a book written by Robert Saviano, who has been under police protection due to the reaction from the Camorra crime family to a previous novel of his called Camorra. Very well shot, very well acted, and some incredibly memorable scenes. Hope you enjoy.
Wow, 000. I don't think I'd really heard of it,
I haven't heard of
It's
it.
chop.
Yeah,
It is pretty good.
Yeah. I've heard really good things about it though. So yeah, look, definitely keen to give it a watch, and we'll see how it goes. So yeah, that is a wrap for the episode. Thanks so much for listening into this episode of Cinemates. And as I said, please follow the podcast and leave a review to let us know what you think. So yeah, huge thank you to Nick and Will for coming on.
Thank you.
You guys,
Thanks for having me. It was
absolutely,
a lot of fun.
Yeah, yarned the house down for Dune.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's been awesome.
I really want to go see it again now.
Yeah. I'll be sorry. No, I'll be seeing it in the cinema.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yes, you will.
Yeah.
No, absolutely great movie. So it's been great chatting with you both.
Thanks, man.
So yeah, let us know what you want to hear for future episodes. You know, if you ever want to send in a mailbag or do an elevator pitch, send us a DM on Instagram at cinemaze_. Otherwise, we'll catch you for the next episode. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Cinemates. If you enjoyed it, you can follow us and leave a review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and all other major platforms. Also, if you haven't already, check out our Instagram and YouTube channel for more Cinemaze content and let us know what you thought of this episode. In the spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge Australia's first people as the traditional owners and custodians of the land and pay respect to the Cammeraygal people of the Eora Nation upon whose country Cinemaze is based. We honour the storytelling and culture of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities across Australia. Also, in the spirit of chatting with mates, remember it's always important to check in with those around you, whether it's friends, family, or colleagues. Sometimes they may be going through a hard time, and chatting with them may reassure that they aren't alone. If you or anyone you know is ever struggling, call Lifeline on 13 11 14.